Welcome to the Agency Habits podcast presented by Barrel Holdings. Each episode, we share lessons and takeaways from running our portfolio of specialized agency businesses. Your co-hosts are Peter Kang and Seo Kim, co-founders of Barrel Holdings. Visit agencyhabits.com for more details and be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or YouTube.
Right. On today's episode, we'll be sharing the story of how Barrel Holdings came to be, how we got our start as agency operators, and how we ended up with the idea for a holding company of agencies.
All right, Wook. So this is our origin story, I suppose. So let's take the listeners and video watchers back to 2003. We were at Columbia University. So what do you remember from then?
So we met 2003. So my freshman year of college, Peter, I think you were a couple years older, so junior year, and we had met in a student organization. And what I remember was, through that, we started making websites together. Yeah. And started a little freelance business.
Yeah. So I was more of the designer, project manager, and you knew some HTML, CSS, right?
Yeah. So self-taught coder at this point. This is, back in the early days of coding. But yeah, we're making all tables-based websites back then. And yeah, pretty much for anyone that would pay us money. So student organizations, nonprofits, small businesses around the city. Doing work for little to no money.
Yeah. But it was fun. And, it was nice to at least be learning, how to build websites. And so, I graduated earlier, went to work at Lehman Brothers, investment banking. And then, I remember we'd still meet up. You were in school. We'd go to my apartment, which was around Times Square. And every Friday, you'd come down and we'd pump out some websites, right?
Yeah, those are some crazy nights. Gave up essentially every weekend through my senior year of college. Yeah, just working, but it was a lot of fun times. We had built up, say, enough clients to keep us busy. One of our earliest clients, we both interned at the NFL, the National Football League, Peter first, and then I kind of took over the internship. But they ended up being kind of one of our kind of first clients out of that experience.
Yeah. So I, quit almost immediately after my bonus hit at Lehman Brothers. So that was 2006. And we decided to incorporate Barrel. And, by then we had a little roster of clients going. I think there was a diabetes-related magazine that we did some website work for. There was, some small business, I think there was a sound equipment company that we did some branding and web work for. So, we were growing the business. And so, felt confident enough to do it. So 2006 incorporated as Barrel LLC. We set up shop. Obviously you still had a year of school left. And so I moved out to Astoria to save on rent. And I remember just being by myself in a room, trying to learn UX, branding, some web design. And you'd also still come over on weekends. And I think that's when you would stuff a week's worth of coding over a couple of days, right?
Yeah. And then, fast forward 1 year after I graduated, we kind of set up our full-time shop in your apartment. But then soon after, getting our first office in Manhattan, which is like a small sublet out of the back of someone's office on 36th Street. But from there, we started getting more clients. We brought on some interns to help support us in kind of various business endeavors we had at that point. And slowly started to grow the business from there.
Yeah, and I think it took us about 5 years to kind of break $1 million a year in revenue. It was like a slow burn, but we started gaining some traction, and I think the inflection point was when the iPad actually came out.
I forget what year that was, but around that time,
2011.
we were going deep into building HTML5 experiences that worked well on iPads. So previously when, you would have all these animations, everything was done in Flash, but with the iPad, we had to kind of reinvent how those interactions were coded. And we connected with another agency, a communications agency that was doing large, annual reports and different websites for big Fortune 500 companies. So we became almost like a production arm of that agency doing tons and tons of this work. So I remember in a period of time, our team grew from 2, 4, 8, 16, 30 year over year, with a lot of that driven by kind of on the engineering software development end.
Yeah, there was, I mean, going from $5,000 websites, which, at the time we thought was a good amount, to $50,000 websites overnight, that really changed, the math for us, and allowed us to grow quickly. And yeah, those were the days when we would find most of our talent through Craigslist. All right.
Yeah, yeah. No, our uh the current CTO of Barrel, we found on Craigslist back over a dozen years ago. And a lot of our talent actually came that way.
Yeah.
And
So I mean, from there on, I mean, we didn't just stick to doing annual reports. We actually branched out to a few other areas. So part of it, we were kind of involved in the startup scene in New York City at the time, a burgeoning startup scene. So we ended up doing a lot of web apps, UX, UI design, and then we also got into doing a lot of WordPress websites, if you remember, right, with cultural arts organizations.
yeah, that was a pretty, big focus. So the arts, nonprofits, education institutions, a lot of those are very content rich, dense websites that, yeah, we had built out on WordPress. So before that, we did a lot of work on a CMS called Text Pattern. Um, but around that time, yeah, we're getting deeper in building these like information sites, building out kind of a UX team to help with all the architecture and content strategy, and then obviously all the front end and back end development that went with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this about 10 years in, though, I think that we started noticing a shift, and we were beginning to kind of ride this wave that would become the direct to consumer wave of websites that had e-commerce functionality, selling direct to consumers, and so Shopify started to take off, and we started to realize that was a good place to focus our energies, and so yeah. I think with that, we ended up starting to turn down some other types of work, namely like web apps and even some types of CMS work, and really start focusing on Shopify.
Yeah. We were really early on in adopting Shopify. I think when the brand or when the company was first started, we created the website for a men's shoe company, and back then you kind of figure out the dating. It was a Flash site, Flash front end layer with a Shopify back end layer. And then over the years, we continued to build more and more on that platform. We dabbled a bit in Magento before that. But once we went deep in Shopify, we started winning more and more work across CPG brands, fashion brands, and we found a lot of success in winning that type of work. So we went deeper and deeper in building out a practice on Shopify.
Yeah, and a couple other things that helped was like we sold our own themes as well. I mean, we sold hundreds if not thousands of themes on Shopify, so that gave us really good exposure to what was possible on the platform. And so yeah, I think we saw kind of this shifting focus, but yeah, we had a challenge because we still kept a lot of our clients, legacy clients that were still requiring support on WordPress. And we, you know, I can remember, the resourcing nightmares, or sometimes we're working on all these ecom projects, but then these non-ecom type of requests would come in, and our team would have to fulfill those requests. So yeah, I think that was kind of the beginnings of what set us on this path towards Barrel Holdings.
Yeah. So around that time, I think that was about 4 or 5 years ago, we created to realize that the direction of Barrel was going towards ecom and Shopify specifically. We had all of these legacy accounts that were built on other technology platforms or didn't quite fit the size profile of Barrel. So we decided to spin out a new business to support all of these accounts called Vaulted Oak. So one of our account managers and longtime kind of team members, Jason Fan, became our business partner in this. And we set out a separate company separate teams, separate P&L, really kind of running independently from Barrel.
Yeah, and I think the biggest light bulb moment for us. So up until this point, this is 15 plus years into the business, we had thought, we had only known of kind of this agency model where we have to account for every dollar that we make, right? Like we have to basically manage every dollar, win that project, find the people to work on it, make sure it gets done, and then you invoice and you collect on it. So like we had known very little about, like business potential beyond that. But I think with Vaulted Oak, where you have a very capable person in Jason, and we became more, shareholders versus, operators in the business. And I think to see kind of these, basically a dividend or a profit share, whatever, come out every quarter from Vaulted Oak, just really shifted our mindset of what was possible.
Yeah. And it was around the same time we formalized a holding company, um, partially from kind of the legal standpoint to manage the ownership, but also to centralize some of the you know, business operations, some of the HR, legal, financial operations. We centralize at the holding company level, but by and large, the day to day of the business was run completely independently by Jason and his team.
Yeah, and he did a phenomenal job. I
Yeah,
mean, like the accounts that went over to Vaulted Oak, under Barrel, like you could argue it was kind of inefficient slash like the clients weren't getting the best service because we had other priorities. But once Jason took over, he was able to really give him the red carpet treatment. Clients were happier. The margins improved because he was able to streamline operations specifically for this type of work, and I think that went a long way in giving us insight into, hey, if you organize the structures right, you could really build a better business.
yeah. And along with that, with the clear focus for Vaulted Oak, he ended up landing business outside of Barrel, kind of building relationships with um, other clients, other agencies that led consistent deal flow. So it was growing revenue wise, but also running very profitably. And yeah, that was amazing to see, kind of, and opened our eyes to the potential of more and more businesses like this.
Yeah. So the next one, which came not too long after, we started seeing some early success with Vaulted Oak. So, I think what had happened was we were early adopters of Webflow internally at Barrel, just because we had a couple designers who were like really, curious about the platform. They had, done some site work on it. We had, tried some client sites on Webflow, and I think we ended up building a relationship early with Webflow. They kind of knew that Barrel was using Webflow on some client projects, and then I think just by being listed on the Webflow experts directory and just having a relationship with Webflow, we were just getting organic leads. But I think just going back to, we had just done the Vaulted Oak spinoff, so like in many ways it didn't make sense to take on Webflow work.
Yeah. So it's a similar idea. Have Barrel continue to go down this focus to Shopify and this new Webflow practice, even though, we started doing some of the work within kind of the Barrel umbrella, quickly realized that better to have a new home for that type of work, new company, and kind of running the same playbook as we did with Vaulted Oak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The main difference here was, where we had Jason, who was already working at Barrel, taking over Vaulted Oak. We brought someone in from the outside, right?
Yeah. The person we brought on is a guy named Jacob, uh, young guy who had worked at another agency that did some work with Webflow. And I think, we got connected with him and kind of took that opportunity to start a new business from the ground up, seeding it with some of the projects that we had from Barrel. But, trying to learn from, the similar process we had used to grow Barrel and its relationship with Shopify, but on, with Webflow. So early, the Webflow as a platform was in its early days in terms of building up a partnership system and community there. So we really wanted to be early on and be very, very visible with the Webflow team.
Yeah, and I think for it to be really honest with ourselves, we didn't do the best job on the barrel side of building the Shopify relationship early on. I think we kind of missed the boat on some of that. Although I think we've recovered some ground since, but we didn't want to make the same mistake. So I think on the Webflow front, we want to be way more um, active and aggressive as a partner, just trying to really be an evangelist, slash advocate for the platform, and build really great relationships early on, which helped Jacob and the BX Studio team get a lot of leads early on, and I think that. Was what really fueled the growth, and also of course just the organic deal flow coming through Barrel as well. That all the you know non eComm marketing site opportunities that went to Barrel could just be passed along to BX.
Yeah, I would say it definitely helped having that relationship with Webflow and leads coming through that channel, but also being present, speaking at conferences, and just being out there, sponsoring different events, and just being a clear presence in the Webflow community really helped both from a talent standpoint. And clients, and just building that credibility that what BX Studio is, the premier Webflow expert for building out these experiences.
Yeah.
Um,
So, before we knew it, like, what had so VO, like, that was pretty organic. I'd say BX was fairly organic, but we had this structure now. And I think it was around, the time after, we saw success with BX, and then we decided to launch a brand design agency called Bolster, and that one focusing primarily on, B2B brand design that you know, you and I really start to think about, hey, like maybe, you know, we should be focusing our energies on building the holding company because all this time we were still running Barrow.
yeah. Yeah, that was yeah. I would say we were still, while Vaulted Oak and BX were getting off the ground, we were still day to day running a lot of the barrel operations, and we had put into place kind of a lot of process to slowly get ourselves out of being critical. So bringing on in different team members and really grooming Lucas, who's now the CEO of Barrel, to take over ownership and leadership of the team.
Yeah, I mean
Uh,
that was definitely a multi-year process. So I remember, this was like, yeah, this is maybe year one of BX, and we kind of knew like there was, we had this desire to want to make a transition out of Barrel, and I think, yeah, we had a convo with Lucas of like, hey, we want you to take over as CEO, but we're gonna obviously set you up for success, and make sure you have the infrastructure slash the skills to help you feel comfortable taking over. And so the next, let's say, like 24 to 18 months, we really worked to, yeah, just get him exposed to all aspects of the business. And he was a quick study, just like absorbed everything. And then, yeah, come the 18th birthday of Barrel, 18th year, like we decided to make that the date of the handover.
yeah, and Lucas is he's been with the team for over 10 years, so he's obviously known and seen a lot of the growth of the company, but also very intimately involved with how the team members and how we do the work. And for us, a lot of it was, yeah, maybe the business operations, the financials, the areas that we had, primarily focused and, managed a little bit more closely. It's a lot of that kind of education and training and kind of working with them to get familiar with the business. And yeah, that was April, June of last year when we finally made the transition out of being day to day in Barrel.
Yeah, June 2024 was when we left Barrel. It was a smooth transition in a sense. Even though there were ups and downs on the Barrel side by the time we left, but like we were, I think, we knew we had done the right thing because immediately Lucas just showed what an amazing leader he could be. He just took firm control of the agency and implemented a lot of really wonderful changes in both, just the way, kind of how he was going to lead the agency, and also just doubling down on some of the strategies that we had been working through, but with really great focus. And I think that's the power of it, because I think just the two of us, we had one eye on obviously building this holding company, and then just also trying to run Barrel at the same time. And I think this kind of speaks to the power of focus, because for us to kind of come out and then put someone in who could give 100% to Barrel, that made a big difference.
Yeah, it's awesome to see Lucas immediately right out of the gate make changes and um, overall improve the state of the business, win leads, and recruit team members, and really taking ownership of the direction of the business.
So that was our exit. I mean, like, after 18 years of being, day-to-day operators in a business, having various, client relationships, being on, new business calls, and just thinking about the day-to-day finances of all of the agency, the personnel challenges, we were out. Like, and I think that was a huge shift for us. And one could argue like, hey, like we could take a little breather here and give ourselves some time to ramp up to Barrel Holdings, but it didn't quite work out like that, right? Because right immediately at that time, we ended up diving straight into our first acquisition for Barrel Holdings. So maybe give a
Yeah,
little background on that.
yeah. So kind of the backstory there is there's a designer that freelanced for us.
15 years
Probably
ago,
about, yeah,
maybe
15
18
years
years
ago,
ago.
really early days of Barrel. He had gone and gone off, did some things, and ended up creating um, an agency that focused in the product design space. Company's called Catalog, and he had really rode the wave of a lot of startup funding and VC funding going into early stage startups in the around, I'll call it 2020, and he had really worked successfully to scale up a design subscription business where he was supporting these startups with everything from their actual products, a web product, mobile product design, but also the um, graphic design services, like if they needed pitch decks or other marketing assets. He'd really they would be the design arm for a lot of these companies, and he had continued to scale that business up.
Yeah, and the business, I mean, it grew fast. It like, you know, um, grew to a pretty sizable team, around 2021, 2022. But I think, as the funding kind of dried up in the tech space, the business kind of experienced a bit of a decline. But yeah, and I think at that point, the founder Win wanted to get out, and we ended up we had a relationship with them, and we ended up getting a call of like, hey, were we interested in buying the business? And so yeah, we struck a deal with them, and then the goal was, hey, like, can we take over the business and give Win a quick exit, a couple months post close, and then take over the business and run it from there. So that was the situation we found ourselves in.
Yeah, and the target was closing the acquisition July 15th. So from June, when we were out of Barrel, all the way through July, so the first 6 weeks when we're out of Barrel, we're in due diligence and really working to structure this deal so that we could close and take over the business. And yeah, it was a quick learning process because it was our first acquisition of a business. So everything from the legal side to the financing aspect to really the due diligence of taking over another company's accounts, team members. It was we had to learn a lot in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, probably the most stressful part was trying to find a good CEO to take over, because the two of us, we had just gotten out of running, an agency for 18 years, and the last thing we wanted to do was get back right in the operator seat and run it ourselves. And so we thought it was very important for the Barrel Holdings model to have a good operator, minding the day to day of catalog. So yeah, I think you know it took longer than we wanted, but eventually, a couple months after close, like right before when the founder was about to roll off, we did bring on a new CEO, and that was Fitch, who's done a tremendous job since.
Yeah. So, yeah, we did a lot of interviews, and Fitch has been kind of a great CEO to take over the business. And for him as well, he had a very short amount of time where we overlapped with the previous owner of the business. So he also learned very quickly, and yeah, had to meet the team and um, the clients, and really understand the direction of the business. And he's done a great job, and making quick decisions to get the company to be more profitable, and set up all the efforts to drive more leads into the business as well.
Yeah. And so I think with that our portfolio started to round out a bit, and there was a couple other businesses that we added along the way, basically launched, but I think this was around the time when we started thinking more long term about, hey, what is the future of Barrel Holdings? And so maybe we could kind of share where the portfolio is today, as of today, and kind of give people the lay of the land of like what the agencies are and what the services are.
Yeah. So we have 7 agencies under our portfolio today. So Barrel is focused on CPG as the kind of vertical focus, with a lot of work with Shopify as kind of the anchor technology platform. We have Vaulted Oak, who does support and maintenance for brands, WordPress, some Shopify as well, but all kind of in the realm of maintenance. We have Bolster, which is our kind of branding agency, doing visual identity work, a lot of creative work, but also some websites on Framer as the technology platform there. We have catalog that we just mentioned, product design work, and yeah, mostly on a subscription basis. We have Prima Mode, which is our Amazon agency, so supporting businesses that are selling on Amazon through kind of full marketing and P&L management. And we have Super Friendly, which is a company that we're relaunching, and that's a company in the design systems space, so helping companies with very uh, a lot of different design channels and platforms, and helping consolidate and understand from a design system standpoint.
Yeah, forgot BX though. Or
Oh yeah, the BX Studio, of course, the Webflow agency.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So with these agencies, and the key point is like these agencies are specialized in some way, and they are gonna focus on certain challenges, and they're one of the questions we get is like, hey, are they all complementary? And we don't they're actually not all complementary to each other, but then there are clusters of complementary agencies. So a good example might be Barrel, serving CPG clients on the more on the direct to consumer side of things of eComm, or kind of supporting some of their omni-channel efforts, will share clients with Prima Mode, who manages the Amazon side of things, and so they've been good partners. I'd say, yeah, like Bolster and BX, there's been some overlap in that they might go after the same client, but then also Bolster with more of the branding focus can work on the branding side and then pass off larger website builds to BX on the Webflow side. So yeah, there's definitely going to be some sharing of clients there, or in some cases, if BX has a client that might need more in-depth product design, they can pass it off to catalog. So yeah, we look for that, but I think more and more just getting to the strategy of Barrel Holdings for the long term. I think where we landed with a lot of this is we looked at a lot of different models out there for agency businesses, and first of all, like Barrel Holdings, one thing we know for sure is we want to focus on agencies, right? And so, yeah, maybe we could kind of share why do we want to focus on agencies? Because there's obviously things like software and other kind of things that we could pursue, but why agencies?
yeah. It's from being in the space for so long, we've developed a lot of experience and perspective on how um, agencies, business in this professional services space operate, from everything from the marketing to business development to the team structure and how you kind of price your services. Um, that's really where our expertise has grown. And that's where we see a lot of potential, even across different verticals, like you've seen in our portfolio. So we want to go deeper. Like we do believe that there's room for growth in in all different areas. And we've, I think we touched upon it a little bit, but these are all independent businesses that run separately, separate teams, but a lot with the core playbooks that we have established over the years. There's a lot of benefits that each new business gets from, the previous businesses that we've been operating. And then we share some common services at the holding company level that benefits all of the separate businesses. So in some ways, the deeper that we get, the more standardized the operations get. When we look at our portfolio, we're looking at financials in a very consistent way and metrics. And when we do the reporting, it's not different types of businesses that we're trying to compare and look at. So yeah, we've definitely focused a lot in this kind of agency space.
Yeah, and I think the
Yeah.
other way to look at it is we just, have found after 18 years of being in the thick of it, we weren't tired or burnt out or bored by it. We in fact, as you mentioned, say like we want to go even deeper, and so distilling all the mistakes and lessons we learned throughout the near 2 decades. I think there's some value to that, and we want to try to maximize that as an asset in building this holding company. I think the other piece that excites us is the just taking this model of long term hold, because in many ways we thought about several approaches to this, where hey, can you buy an agency, grow it really quickly, and then flip it, after a few years. But the more we thought about it, that approach was just less attractive to us, and in many ways, we took a lot of inspiration from some other types of holding companies out there. But where we landed was on this concept of a long term hold. Compounding cash flows, and just being able to grow through both M&A and launching new agencies. And so yeah, maybe maybe you could share a little bit about how that works, just mechanically, and what that can lead to.
Yeah. So when we launch or acquire agencies, the way that we're modeling out the future is it has to generate cash flows. And I think the cash flows, consistent cash flows that are generated from the business, if that is the goal, it makes you think about how the full kind of P&L of the business is structured. Are you efficient at generating gross margin? So the way that you're structuring your team and structure and your contractors, is that core solid? And then how you invest in marketing and other G&A in the business. So when we look, we want kind of uh, businesses that are run efficiently that will then generate cash flow to the holding company that we can then use to launch new businesses or acquire businesses and continuing this cycle. So that's what we're trying to do with this cash the holding company.
Yeah, and we think
Yeah.
there's a really interesting long tail of specialized agencies, and right now we're targeting kind of in that like $2 to $10 million revenue range, with healthy kind of 15-20% EBITDA margins, and we think with that, these companies don't have to be like high growth in a way, but they do need to be durable. They need to be, um, you know, well run, and have a good team in place to really continue that cash flow trajectory. But also we're going to be opportunistic, and if there's companies that have, let's say, good positioning, but maybe their finances aren't as tight, that could be an opportunity for us to even come in and create that value alongside them, and make it more durable. So yeah, there's a lot of possibilities here, but right now that is the strategy that we're looking to execute. Is yeah, let's continue to look for these types of specialized agencies to buy, and where where we think it's really attractive to start one, we'll also invest in, a co-founder to do that as well.
And in some ways, we're investing a lot in the teams, right? Because the focus and service offerings will continue to evolve as industries evolve.
Yeah.
But we're investing in having the right people, bringing in our process to run efficient cash flowing businesses.
Yeah, you're
Um,
absolutely right. I mean, one of the things we get a lot of questions about is like, how is AI going to impact the agencies that we have in our portfolio, and also the types of agencies we look for in our acquisitions. And yeah, this is, I think the agencies that have teams that are flexible, they embrace new ways of working, and are always looking to deliver value for the clients, are going to be ones that are most likely to continue to evolve the agency itself so that it stays relevant.
yeah. So in 5 years' time, what we do for the clients could vary quite a bit, but and potentially some of the industries. But I think it's all about the having the right people in place to evolve as the world and technology evolves as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at today. And just to put a bow on this, and because this is the Agency Habits podcast, just a bit of a shout out to Agency Habits and why we created that platform. That is definitely a function of our belief that sharing our experiences and lessons learned in operating a business is not only potentially valuable to others out there, but also valuable to us because it forces us to reflect and kind of write about these things. And the real hope with Agency Habits is it could be a super valuable resource that other agency founders, owners can come to love and trust, and then thereby Barrel Holdings, through its association, can become a place where potential sellers will think of us, and also anybody who wants to, pursue an opportunity in a role as maybe a CEO at one of our portcos, or any of the leadership roles we might have, consider applying as well. So I think that's the main channel. Yeah, anything to add there?
Yeah, no, I think we're really just trying to build a community of like-minded agency owners, founders, and even people, within existing agencies who may want to move into some kind of, leadership or ownership position as well.
Great.
Mhm.
Well, hope you enjoyed our origin story. We're in the early innings of building Barrel Holdings, and we're excited to share more about our journey as we build it. So, till next time, we'll see you again.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.